In the past 25 years, it seems like people have become obsessed with this idea that they're going to run their car into a lake and have to grab a special tool to cut their seatbelt and then break the window with a special tool and all that. I don't know how many times a year this happens in America, but I mean it does happen, I guess, but fairly rare, I would guess. I guess probably millions of dollars worth of window breakers and seatbelt cutters have been sold in the last 25 years.
Don't you say a fucking word.
I bought one of these pocket knives, King Max, made in China pocket knife. I just thought, for $12, looks like a pretty good little knife, and but it has a seatbelt cutter and a window breaker. And I thought, well, let me try it and see if it does what it says it will do. I kind of like the knife. I mean, it's okay. It ain't the greatest, but for $12, it just seems pretty good. So I thought, well, let me test the cutter and the breaker part of it. So let me go ahead and show that. Now, I'm not in the truck. I'm standing outside of it, which could make a difference on leverage. You're pulling the belt tight as if you're sitting in it, and that might make a difference. But still, even if you're outside the car, you should still be able to cut the seatbelt if it's a decent cutter, right? So let's see how this goes here. So it's got you can see a blade in there. I think the main trick is to pull down at an angle to the belt, not straight across. For something like this, it really needs to be an actual razor blade, like a heavy utility blade, like a carpenter's utility knife. So let me try the actual blade here. Now it's not as sharp as it could be. I should have sharpened it up a little. I've used it a little bit here and there, but I guess the problem with using a knife, if you were quickly trying to cut your belt, you might stab yourself and have a bleeding problem in the excitement trying to get out of the car. But a knife can work. Try the belt cutter here again. The idea being that it's hidden away and it's safe, so you can't cut yourself with it. But looks like you can't cut the belt either, so I guess. Now this is one of these tools they sell. This is a window punch and a belt cutter, a little plastic thing. It has a safety. I guess you hang it around your neck and then you can yank on it and it comes off or something like that. The bad thing about this thing is it's so tiny, you have no grip. It's a small little thing, and if you had weak fingers or arthritis, you'd have a hard time getting a grip on this little plastic thing. Trying to cut at an angle. Again, if I was in the car. So it did cut it. It's a very small grip and it's hard to hold on to get that leverage you need to pull. Now, if you're in good shape and everything, that might be fine, but if you got a disability or weak fingers or something going on that keeps you from getting a grip on that little piece of plastic, that could be kind of tough. It shows here in the picture the window breaker is like stabbing at the window in a downward angle. Now, everything I've ever seen about breaking a window is they act like you should go to the corner of the window and try it there rather than in the middle, like the show in the picture. I didn't try stabbing the window like this, but I did try the corner, pushing and hitting it. The window breaker on this knife looks like a flat screwdriver. It's not sharp and it's not pointy. I think for a window breaker to really work easily, it needs to be fairly pointy. So, and the more heavier it is and you can hit the window or something or whatever, like a hammer, well, then it probably needs to be less pointy. So I'm going to try it here. I'm going to try this window punch. This is a spring-loaded punch. This little $10 plastic thing that you can see here. And for that, you don't hit it, you just push it, and it has a spring in it, and then it lets go, kind of like a firing pin in a gun, and then it hits the window. So we'll see how that works. I barely had to push on that. That was very easy. Just very little pressure, and it broke the window. So that beats the heck out of hitting and pushing and with an object. That spring-loaded action really does it. So yeah, 14 more payments and she's all mine. I need to put a little Armor All on there, shine that up a little bit. So just to test things again, I took a piece of the belt and I screwed it down on the table so I could pull on it really hard and then try to cut it. So I'm trying the knife again, and it's just not getting a grip on there to cut in. Trying at an angle. I mean, I got about as much leverage pulling there as you could hope to get on a seat belt, and that cutter and that knife is just not doing it. This is a hammer. My mom had this. It's a seatbelt cutter, window breaker hammer. It's pointed on one end. So I'm going to try the belt cutter here. And here you got a handle to get a hold of. It's very slick though. They made this without much grip, but it cuts the seatbelt pretty good. Better than that pocket knife. So at least you got a hammer handle to hold on to pull. Now back with this thing, this will cut, but there's not much to grip onto. This is a very small thing. So it's got a decent razor blade in it, but there's just not much handle to get a hold of here. But it does cut it. And you can push on that punch part. You can just push your finger on that. I don't think it's going to bite you. And of course, this is what you really need for a seatbelt cutter. I mean, a big K-bar knife. Of course, you might stab yourself in the leg trying to cut your belt there, but at least you got some leverage and grip. Well, yeah, the King Max pocket knife off of Amazon, I think it's a neat little knife. I think it's pretty well made, but I would not trust that belt cutter and that window breaker for anything. I think it's just there. You know, you would think it'd be. You think companies would make sure their stuff actually does work? Because I mean, there's a little liability there, although I guess it's hard to sue a Chinese company if somebody drowns because they had a phony baloney seatbelt cutter. The other thing about seatbelts, I don't know much about the super modern car with all the computers, but as far as the seatbelt goes, can't you just push the button? And does the button not work when the car gets wet? Another thing, these stupid airbags. Seatbelts should not be mandatory. That's a money grab, bunch of shit, and cops like it because they can just pull you over. You know, they want to sniff around your car, and they want every excuse they can to pull you over in the first place so they can get up in your business. But the mandatory airbag, those should be optional. There should be a knob in the dash where you can open the door and turn the airbag off so that it can't work. If they want to put airbags on cars, well, why don't you put them like on the underneath where when the car plows into the lake, the airbags come out and maybe it won't keep the car floating forever, but maybe to buy you, 15 minutes so you can get the hell out of there, or somebody can come and get you with a boat or something like that. So that's where they ought to put those damn airbags, because airbags are dangerous. Who wants something exploding in your face when you're having a wreck? Although I'm sure there's people's lives have been saved by them or bad injury, but there's also been people killed by airbags when they went off when they weren't supposed to. So there you go. That's my little test of the King Max window breaker belt cutter knife. I like the knife. It's an okay little knife to carry around for little chores, but I would not trust that belt cutter or that window breaker.